you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. thechrisvossshow.com is coming at you live. Coming at you live, as Tesla would say. Welcome to the big show. My family and friends, as always, for 16 years and over 2,000 episodes, I've been screaming at you through the mic like I just did now. We have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to talk to him about how to, he's a procrastination coach. So we're going to find out if he helps you procrastinate better or more, or if he helps you procrastinate less. So we'll get into that. I actually didn't ask him which it was, so we're going to find out. But anyway, in the meantime, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. So we're going to get into it with Chris Abdey. He's a procrastination coach with over 20 years of experience across various industries and a passion for helping others. Chris empowers individuals to break free from the cycle of procrastination and achieve peak productivity. And as the creator of programs like Procrastination to Productivity, here, let me cut that. As the creator of programs like Procrastination to Productivity and the Balance Blueprint, 8 Weeks to Life Harmony, Chris combines practical strategies with mindset mastery to help clients transform their approach to time management, focus, and motivation. We were thinking about just having him on next week because we wanted to procrastinate some, but we decided to have him on now. Welcome to the show, Chris. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for having me to the show.
Thanks for coming. Let's do this next week. No, I'm just kidding. So give us your .coms. When can people find you? Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yes, just where like all my contact and all my special deets. Is that what you want there?
Yeah, the .coms, socials, wherever you want.
Yeah, sure. I don't do social because it's a major distraction. You know, I got to kind of practice what I preach. So I'm only on LinkedIn right now. Find Chris Abdey, and I'm the only one on LinkedIn there, so that's good. Mm-hmm. And Procrastinationstation.ca is the main website, and you can schedule a quick chat with me there, or you can catch me on LinkedIn.
The Awesome Sauce, LinkedIn is a great place to be. So are you a procrastination coach who helps people procrastinate more and better or less?
That is an excellent question. And actually it's a little bit of both. The first thing we have to understand is that procrastination is not something inherently wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not lazy. It's just that it's a signpost, right? So I have worked with individuals who they don't necessarily want to get to their deeper issues because, who has time for that? Mm-hmm. I don't really advise that, but, they're in a crunch and they need to learn how to work with the procrastination. So that I can do as well. It doesn't matter if you're working with it or you want to sort of beat it. The process is kind of the same. And the main thing is just knowing why you do it in the first place. Mm-hmm.
Knowing why you do it in the first place is probably an important basis for, understanding what you're doing. Why do we tend to, on average, I guess, because there's probably maybe some reasons, but why on average do we tend to procrastinate? You can take as long as you want to answer.
Oh, for sure. So there are 5 different kinds of procrastinators, 5 different main archetypes, and there's actually way more, but the big 5 are what you're likely going to fall into. The first ones are the perfectionists. So the perfectionists need perfection, right? It's fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not having anything left to do once you actually do succeed in that goal. And obviously perfection, nothing's ever perfect. So we just never release anything and never do anything. Mm-hmm. The second one are the worriers. So we can all probably relate to this one a little bit. It's the what ifs, right? The wife tells me to mow the lawn. Okay, I'll get right on that. I go to the garage. Oh, wait. What if the lawnmower doesn't have any gas? Oh, no, it's got gas. And then they say, oh, wait, what if it rains? Oh, it's okay. It's nice and sunny outside. Oh, wait, what if my neighbor doesn't like the noise? And so on and so on. We can make up so many what if scenarios. that we don't want to happen, that we can just wind up not doing anything. Wow. The third category after the worriers is my personal favorite. I fall into this category myself, and that's the dreamers. And we're visionaries sometimes. We plan. We're entrepreneurs waiting to burst out, and we're worried about the details. So we can plan all day. We got these big ideas. We love planning ideas. We either get stuck on not knowing where to start, and so we get overwhelmed, or we get like analysis paralysis. You have too many choices, and again, you just don't know where to start, or you just get bored. You're bored with the details. The idea is awesome, but I gotta, to do this, I need to, I want to paint my room. Perfect example. I want to paint my room. Oh, great. I got all these designs laid out. I'm going to put some space up here. I don't know, some Star Wars. I don't know, whatever I like. My Little Pony, doesn't matter. And then you start getting the details. Oh, you mean wait a minute. I got to scrape the paint. I got to prime the paint. I have to do that. No, man, that sounds boring. I'm done. I'm not doing it. And then after that, the dreamers, you've got my personal favorite, the crisis makers. These are the people that I actually coach through procrastination. You were asking if I coach people to procrastinate better. And those are the crisis makers. They work well under pressure. They get that burst of creativity. Maybe they love the adrenaline, but they're always doing things at the last minute. And, it always boils down to either that sort of adrenaline rush, that creative rush, or it's just creating importance. So nothing's important to me until it's right at the last minute. And if it's not important to me, I'm not going to do it. And so that's a crisis maker in a nutshell. And a lot of us did that too. Master procrastinator right here, high school. I was a crisis maker, did 2 years worth of art projects in one weekend. Still got a better grade than the guy that worked his butt off for 2 years. I
like how you're bragging about that.
That came out wrong. I'm not advocating that. I got way too lucky. But that's the crisis maker. And then the last one, a lot of us have this as well, and actually a lot of parents listening might be interested in this one too, is the defier, right? We don't like being told what to do, especially when we're younger. So we have issues with autonomy. We want to feel like we're in control. It's actually the easiest kind of procrastination to conquer. So I don't really deal with a lot of defiers. I deal more with the parents of defiers. But that's just normal. I don't even consider that really procrastination, but it is. And that's just really simple. It's just tweaking one thing from have to I get to, or I choose to. I choose to do this because I don't want the consequences of that.
People are interesting because they move on either one of two things: fear of loss, fear of penalty, or gain, I suppose. And I think my understanding is most people only move over fear most of the time. Is that true?
Yeah. So just as sort of an aside, mini Psych 101 course. we're either moving, and it's a way oversimplification, but just you're absolutely right. We're either moving at a place of fear, or we're moving out of a place of like passion or desire. And the majority of us, it's about 95-5 split. So 95% of the time we're operating at a place of fear, and 5% we're operating at a place of joy. There are ways that you can change that, but those are our main motivators, which is why I tend to work with people, and we try to see if we can, nudge the needle just a little bit to the other side.
Let me ask you this. I had seen something, and of course it was on the internet, so I don't know if it's true or not. Of course, I think I just discounted our own show. We're true. We're real people. These are real people we have on the show, and I'm an AI bot, but the guests are real. So I was seeing this thing one time about how highly creative entrepreneur types, maybe ADHD, but like CEOs, people who are highly creative, and ADHD is known as the CEO disease. For all the right reasons, I guess, or maybe crazy and manic. We're highly successful many times, and a lot of CEOs have it. ADHD, learning to ride the tiger, if you would, is a whole nother thing. But I heard once from, I don't know, some crap I was watching on the internet, I guess, that creative people tend to not get started right away. So if you hand them a project, let's say they're an architect, right? And so some people who's an architect, they'll hand them the project. They'll go, here's what we want to build, and they start going at it, and they've got all pre-programmed, and they're gonna put that building together, whatever it is. And creative people look for inspiration, and so they tend to procrastinate because they're waiting for that inspirational fire or that moment that comes to them. Sometimes you're in your shower, sometimes you're asleep in bed, and all of a sudden, ping, there's that idea. And you're like, hey, that's the way to solve it. And I do that a lot. In fact, I rely on it, which also means, I pay my bills once every 5 years. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that, folks. Don't procrastinate on your bills. But, it's basically they're giving leeway for that creative juice to kick in, or what I like to call just bullshitting my way on why I'm procrastinating. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
It's not as you said, bullshit, because we do tend to do that, and it's not that we're not working on it. When you're doing the creative process, you have to understand that a big percentage, somewhere between 90 and 98% of what we're doing is all in the back of our head anyway. Yeah. So you could be sitting there watching TV. And, you won't even know this, but subconsciously, you're probably thinking about a dozen other things. Mm-hmm. And, so that's why you get those flow moments in the shower, is because you're in a state of mindfulness, which is actually one of the biggest things to help overcome procrastination. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a state of mindfulness and you sort of calm the front of your mind, that gives room for some of these ideas from the subconscious to sort of punch through. It's also why you have those waking thoughts at 3 a.m. like, did I turn off the stove? Or, did I do those things, right?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So you have to calm the front of the mind so the back of the mind can do stuff?
That's correct. The back of the mind just does stuff on its own. It's the front of the mind that's not paying attention to the back of the mind.
I used to have this thing where I used to be able to, if I sat down and played piano, and I'm not taught to play piano. I took some classes, full disclosure, I took classes when I was in 8th grade, but I sucked at them and hated it. But somewhere I fell in love with the piano in my 30s. And I can sit down and improv tunes and play. And I don't like playing anybody else's stuff. I do the same thing on guitar. I like writing my own stuff. But I'm most adept at writing stuff and creating music when I'm blitzed to the wind in vodka. And so I would say, and then I would also do a thing in my kitchen. I had this giant kitchen with living room, going in the living room, and I would sit there and maybe eat nachos or whatever, and I'd play guitar on a big stand-up thing because it's hard to do on a couch. And I would watch TV, and I would get really creative in both those instances. And I asked my psychiatrist, or a psychiatrist once at the time, I go, how come I can play beautifully when I'm blitzed to the wind? And we're talking blitzed to the wind on vodka. I'm gone, man. My head's resting on the piano top part, and I'm gone. But I can play that piano like nothing else. And I know where all my notes are. I can hit all my stuff that I reach out to find. Same thing with guitar. I would come up with all sorts of great licks watching TV. And I usually wasn't that drunk on that, but the piano just flows. In fact, I wrote, I think, most of a CD one time in the studio I had set at my house, all fucking blitzed out of my fucking mind. And a lot of musicians do that, heroin, drugs, rock and roll, that's all synonymous. In fact, I often joked after Metallica and Saint Anger came out, they got off all the Alcoholica that they were always on. I'm like, can we go back to the drugs and alcohol? Because this album fucking sucks. So what do you say to that? I mean, that's kind of an example of what you were saying where, the psychiatrists, what they would tell me is they would be, you're very left brain and logical. And so what you're doing with the alcohol is you're suspending your left brain and you're giving your right brain the ability to run around and play. And that's why that works. What do you think of that?
Yes, that is fairly accurate. Yeah. So what really happens in that area is as you're sitting there, and this happens to me too. When I get completely blasted, I'll speak. I won't speak English. I'll speak fluent Spanish.
Oh, really?
It just comes out.
Now, are you good at Spanish, or are you?
Oh yeah, but see, there's a couple of components here for this.
Because I've spoken in tongues on vodka, but no one knows what I'm saying.
Yeah, but so what happened is I actually learned most of my Spanish while I was drunk, so I can only speak Spanish when I'm drunk. So there's a couple of different things that are happening when you do this, right?
I think the story of how you learned it while you're drunk is something we should maybe know about.
Yeah, I got no shame in that. I was
I'm just kidding.
I was a street person. I was always out in the street. This is how I learned because I spent 15 years in Central America. And the best way to learn is throwing yourself into immersion. You can't see it now, but I was actually kind of a bit of an introvert. So I needed alcohol to loosen me up. And I wound up actually learning a bunch of stuff and just being completely drunk and then not being able to recall it. I can recall all of it now, and I was practicing stuff. But in those early days, I could only do it when I was drunk. Wow. And it's true because you're getting rid of your inhibitions. Because one of the things we don't know is that the brain is awesome at recollecting things, music, whatever. If you sit and you listen to a piece of music and you watch the fingers over the keys, you will retain that information. But, and this is one of the running theories, is that you can't play because you say you can't play.
Oh, it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. You can do whatever you want to do, but that's the key. Again, it's whatever you want to do. And for whatever reason, and again, this is where, you can go to therapy for a ton of time and try to figure it out. But normally it's a very deep root thing, right? But if you're saying that you can play piano and you only really do it when you're drunk, it's because, you're turning off that logical part of your brain. So now you are total and your subconscious is moving forward, and it's giving that sort of that creative boost, right? It's kind of like when people get, again, stoned or drunk or high or whatever. It flows more because you've got your inhibitions gone, which means you're not calculating every single word you're writing. You're not calculating every note you're playing, whereas you would be when you had that function on there.
Yeah. That's interesting. That makes sense. It really does. So some of the things you help your clients with are emotional blocks and heart walls and how they sabotage your productivity. What are heart walls? And
actually, that's not my concept. I just want to be right up front. That's not my concept. I'm not stealing it. It was the first time I read about it was from Michael Singer, and also this his name escapes me right now. Farzan. He's actually up in Toronto as well. He does a lot of work with that as well. The heart walls are they're what they describe as these incidents. They may be traumatic, they may be not traumatic, but what happens is we build up these walls around our heart. It's very metaphorical. So if you, for example, almost drown when you're a kid, you're not going to want to go around water anymore. So you're not going to want to learn. So every time something comes up like that, you get guarded. You'll actually start to actively avoid anything to do with, water sports or anything like that. And it's one example. It's not everybody's example, obviously. But if you get bitten by a dog, you will naturally not want to be around dogs, and you'll have this emotional response to dogs. And you may even find yourself go to your way to, not go to pet stores, or, if a neighbor has a dog, you won't go by the neighbor's house, or all these little things, but we don't even really notice them. And that's why we call them, the emotional blocks are the heart walls, because they're walls around the heart or the emotional center. And yes, I do work with people on that, because sometimes what you think it is isn't what you think it is. Somebody said that they had a fear of spiders, right? It doesn't. I'm like, okay, that's not really what I do, but okay. So they were talking about how they wanted to actually start a reptile and spider, those shows that go around. They wanted to do that, and they had a tarantula. He said, I want to be able to get this tarantula up there. So he was procrastinating on starting that business because he said, I hate the tarantula. I can't deal with it. Can't deal with the tarantula. Okay, all right. Let's analyze. Why? Why is that? Did something happen with that? And it turns out that when he was a kid, he fell into a spider's nest. And he actually had one crawl into his mouth. He kind of had to understand that before he could move forward. And, you work through that logically. I mean, the tarantula is not going to go in your mouth, bro. But in all, joking aside, it was just as simple as that. Another case is, when your fear of being judged. So if you were criticized by your parents a lot as a child, you have that sort of built up in you. And so you're less likely to try and put yourself out there again, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what was meant by all these heart walls. And he also refers to them as like thorns. So you get a thorn in your arm. I love this metaphor, by the way. Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. So he uses that metaphor, the thorn in the arm. And rather than pull the thorn out, we just, we bandage it up so that we don't bump it. We, maybe put a cast on our arm, or, maybe we eventually develop this device that holds our arm in the air so that it can't get hurt. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Do you find that, what was the question I had? It just hit me, and it was a great question that slipped out. I'm still recovering from COVID, so I still have COVID brain, evidently. Do you find that, that was it. So one of the things I found with procrastination is it will, I'll put it off and it'll seem like it's so big and it's so huge, and you're just like, oh my God, it's going to take hours to do, blah, blah, blah. You're just like, oh my God, dude, it's just so momentous. And then I kind of have this rule about attacking stuff that I procrastinate or stuff I need to do, eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I finally, when it, push comes to shove and there's a gun in my head going, you better get this done or else, which is the only way I do things, when the mob shows up and says, either you get the test done or your blood will be on this contract. It's like Godfather reference, people. A lot of times I'll focus on it, and it's something I thought was going to be like 2 days of pain was like really just a focused hour. And I'll get done and I'll go, You're an idiot. You've been procrastinating that for months, putting it off. It took an hour. And I think sometimes, like you aforementioned, it related to people don't evaluate, I guess, on anything, I mean, there's probably still a whole lot of people who think that purple aliens are real. Right, and everyone knows the green. People don't assess risk models very well, right? If they think, what's probably likely to kill you, there's probably a whole mess of people that think they got a 50% chance of getting hit by a meteor every day. I don't know. I'm just throwing out examples. So, what's your thoughts on some of that wrongly perspective thinking and why we procrastinate, thinking it's going to be, this huge thing, and really we're just kind of jerking ourselves around, I guess.
Again, that this really goes back to procrastination being a defense mechanism. Mm-hmm. Not a very good one, but it's a defense mechanism. It's like anxiety, or worry, because something is dangerous. Basically, bottom line is it's a leftover from our cavemen days, right? When we might think twice about going out to get berries if that big cat's out there, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about it, when you reframe procrastination as a defense mechanism, then you can sort of try and understand that, the brain will make up all sorts of excuses to keep you comfortable and keep you safe. More so comfortable than safe, but that's the main reason behind it.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I've kicked myself so many times after I've done something where I'm like, oh, man, you wasted all that time, and if you just would just have done it, you would have been fine, right? And yeah.
But it is difficult because that can spiral you. What I tell a lot of people too, I mean, I still procrastinate stuff. You want something to feel bad about. I actually put off recently this year. I put off talking to my mother because it was uncomfortable to me. Going to see her in the nursing home. They told us she was dying. We knew she was dying. Mm-hmm. I was always too busy. I was always busy with something else, putting something off. So I finally got it in the calendar. And she passed away the Sunday night before the Monday I'd scheduled to go see her. The procrastination, it robbed me of my final conversation with my mother pretty much. Wow. And the reason I say this is because, you have to have compassion when you talk about procrastination, okay? Because it's not your fault. It's a defense mechanism. And you are operating you're doing the best that you can with the information you have on hand at that specific time. And that is a universal truth. Nobody goes out specifically to do the worst possible thing they can for themselves. No. So you're doing the best you can with the information you have at the time. Now, whether that information is right, wrong, or erroneous, missing information, missing, it doesn't matter because you're always doing the best that you can. There is no other option. You are doing the best you can with the information that you have. And so you have to have compassion with yourself and just understand that, one, it's not your fault. Your environment attributed to it, your upbringing attributed to it. That being said, it's not your fault. It is, should you decide that it's your duty to do, then yeah, it is your responsibility to do something about it. But the fact that it happened, no.
Yeah. It's procrastination is a big deal. I can imagine you should have an endless supply of clients. Now, on your website, you have a procrastination profiles quiz. I'm planning on taking that, I don't know, next Tuesday, Friday. I don't know, we'll see. Tell us about the quiz.
So the quiz is literally 8 questions. It's a free quiz to sort of help nudge you in the right direction. If you feel like you might be procrastinating, it'll give you, the big 5 that you fit into. Again, you might fit into more than one, but it'll tell you the main area to start asking questions. Mm-hmm. Right after the quiz, there's a calendar link too that you can book time with me. It's free of charge. I'll sit with you. I'll explain the archetype. I'll ask about your situation a little bit, and I'll give you an action plan that you can take, whether you work with me or not. At least you'll be able to have a little bit more clarity, maybe understanding, and do something.
Yeah, and you also do a free consultation, I believe.
Yes, that's attached to the quiz. If you don't take the quiz, I might just run you through the quiz anyway. But because I'll need to know, I do have people sometimes that come to me and say, I had one guy, he wanted to paint his fence. And I said, I don't know why. And he said he didn't know why, but I said, is painting the fence a problem? He said, no, because he actually was doing it while he was talking to me. So like, okay, so where's the issue? So that in that scenario, I may tell you, okay, let's just sit down and do the quiz together. 8 questions. It's literally takes 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah, it's I'm taking it right now. Actually, I'm going through it. I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of feeling like I'm reading through some of the questions, going, "Wow, I'm really awful at I'm really good at procrastination, actually, and just awful at procrastinating, I suppose." So people can do that now. I think. Do you have some courses on your website too, as well?
No courses right now.
Okay.
I had thought about making some courses, but the issue I have with courses and procrastination is that if you're a procrastinator, you may procrastinate in the course too. So I'm actually working. It's a legitimate concern, man.
That's true.
Actually had
I could
this
see
round
that.
table.
Yeah, I mean, you got people coming to you with a procrastination problem. Clearly, they're going to procrastinate.
I'll give you a real scenario I had just when I was creating the course. I had people that were going to go through the material and try. So I had somebody put on my calendar 5 times, and they didn't show up 4 times. They showed up on the 5th time, and they hadn't started the course. So I said, okay, I need to reevaluate how I'm going to do this. That's why I sort of settled on that. There's no real courses, but I will be running workshops in the future where, they're bite-sized, mini-sized workshops, but that's still a future. Right?
Wow.
So.
Everyone should take your course, or your course, not your course. I have COVID brain, people. I'm going to be saying that for the next year. That's my new default. If the girlfriend's like, hey, you didn't take out the trash. Hey, I got COVID brain. And you're like, that was 5 years ago you had COVID. Anyway, so I just took your quiz, and everyone should take your quiz, was what I was trying to say. And son of a bitch, if it didn't nail me out of the park. The dreamer, the visionary with the endless possibilities. That is me. So I can attest that your quiz is correct, sir.
It doesn't go into the deep end because again, you probably don't need to go into the deep end either. There's those personality quizzes where it's like I'm an IFTP SNTY something. That's as many types of procrastination there is too. Like, you don't need that. You don't need all that.
Yeah, you just need the basics of, am I fucked up and do I need to call Chris? Do I need to call Chris to fix me? I
would like to do a small thing there. I'm not here to fix you. You're not broken. Despite
you don't know me that well, Chris.
Well, despite what people might tell. No. See, this is something in general. People tend to think they're broken or whatever, and you're not broken. You are operating how you were programmed to operate. Oh. Environmentally, emotionally, physically. Your upbringing does a lot. Your environment does a lot. And it's not that you're broken. It's just you've been conditioned to behave in certain ways based on, mostly your environment. And
so
again,
I can blame my parents for this? Is that what you're saying?
Only until you're 18. Once you're 18 and somebody points it out to you, that's where you draw the line. It's like I said, okay, I can blame mom and dad for everything up until 18. And then even after that, I can blame mom and dad for everything up until somebody points it out to me. Okay. Then it's on me.
Yeah, I've got a brother still blaming stuff at 50 years old. So it might be time to let that go, buddy. I won't say which brother it is since there's only one of them. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, brother shaming on the Chris Voss Show. Welcome to Tuesday. So you help people go through this process. They can call you. They can work with you. I think it's funny you can't do a course because people will procrastinate the courses.
The panel did not go well.
The panel did not go well. I can see why that. It's I don't know. It's like being in an AA clinic and bringing a bottle of booze. Anyway, what are some things maybe we haven't talked about that you want to tease out? I know you have a YouTube channel. It looks like a podcast. Anything we need to promote there?
I do have a podcast. Again, it's fledgling. It's still very much in development. But it is designed to, showcase guests who have overcome procrastination or who are top of their game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's just, at Procrastination Station, capital C, capital A. I don't know why the capitals matter, but apparently they do.
Oh, wow. That is wild. I mean, people just do. It is the way that they are and are the way that it is. And so give us your final thoughts. Pitch out to people on how to pick up the phone and get internet and get interested in you and what you're doing there.
Oh, for sure. Just pick it up. I'm available all the time by WhatsApp, much to the everybody says I'm crazy for doing it. But honestly, I'm talking to a bunch of procrastinators. You're probably going to hit me with an email first and then he'll probably call. But my WhatsApp number is, plus 289-968-2639. That's plus 289-968-2639. And yes, I will answer you. I was going to make a joke about, maybe tomorrow, but I thought that might be bad form. But no, I am always open and willing for conversations and just how to better help you move forward.
I should probably consider being a procrastination coach, because then I would kind of have a gun at my head that if you're going to tell other people how not to procrastinate and you procrastinate all the time, then what kind of coach are you? So maybe it would hold a gun to my head. I don't know.
Having worked with a bunch of, there's something to be said for that, honestly, because, I was a master procrastinator. It still happens. Mm-hmm. And just as most addiction therapy is better when you get it from a recovered addict. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I personally don't go to therapists that don't go to therapy, and I don't have coaches that don't go to coaching too. You gotta take your own. You gotta sip from your own cup.
Sip from your own cup, walk your own talk your own walk, all that sort of good stuff. Really important. So it's been wonderful to have you on the show, Chris. Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, and thanks for tuning in. And we got your .com as we go out. Did we get your .com one last time?
Yep, Procrastinationstation.ca.
And everyone go there now. Just drop whatever you're doing and go now. Don't procrastinate because, you'll forget about it. So don't do that. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Chris for being here. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out.